Hey, what is up, you guys? It's Nick from the Lost River Drive-In. Before we get started, make sure to hit subscribe if you haven't already and hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss any of my nerdy horror movie content. And this video is no exception to that. Today, I wanted to talk to you guys about the future of A Nightmare on Elm Street. Now, I did a video similar to this one with Halloween after I covered all of the unmade Halloween scripts. And that video was really fun and you guys really seemed to like talking with me in the comment section about the future of that series. So I thought, as I'm wrapping up Nightmare, why not do the same thing? Now, you guys may have noticed there weren't as many videos in this series as there were for the Halloween series. And that is simply just because there weren't as many unmade Nightmare on Elm Street films. There were multiple drafts of Freddy vs. Jason, and I didn't cover every single one of them because a lot of them were very similar. I covered the ones that were most popular, namely Freddy vs. Jason vs. Ash. But I didn't really get into the minutia of all 9 drafts or whatever it was of Freddy vs. Jason. So in wrapping up that series, here we are to talk about A Nightmare on Elm Street, a series that's been dormant for a decade and a half now. And to myself and a lot of other horror fans, it kind of leaves us scratching our head and asking why. Why is one of the 3 titans of the horror industry buried? Why is nobody talking about him? Why does there not seem to be a hunger by the rights owners to, I don't know, put out new Nightmare content? Well, it's a multi-layered thing. And I think it may be closer than a lot of us had actually thought. So just to get you caught up on what's going on with A Nightmare on Elm Street, the Craven estate owns the rights to the film series in the United States. That is Wes Craven's Children. As far as the foreign distribution, that is owned by another entity entirely. So if you're going to make a movie, both parties would have to agree, that way you could release the film internationally. Now, most of the time, that's not really a problem. You see that happen a lot where rights are split when it comes to foreign markets and domestic markets. So that's not the problem here. The problem here is the Craven estate. Now, in speaking to somebody that I trust at Bloody Disgusting, and I've talked to for years now, and if you guys have watched my channel, I've mentioned this person many times, they told me it's not that the rights issues are super complicated, it's that neither party seems to really want to either work with each other or do anything about Nightmare at all. Craven's Children seem to be totally fine with not doing anything with A Nightmare on Elm Street. And that is only evidenced by the fact that their asking price for the rights here in the United States, although I don't have the number on it, I have been told by my sources is incredibly ridiculous. Now, if you want to kind of put that into perspective, The Exorcist sold for $400 million. Yes, $400 million to Universal and Blumhouse. That is a ton of money. The Exorcist is also probably, arguably, the landmark horror film, especially when it comes to specifically the demonic possession genre. So, $400 million seems steep, and even though it is The Exorcist, I still feel like that's steep. From what I have heard, I'm not kidding you, the Craven estate is asking for more than that for A Nightmare on Elm Street. Now, let's not kid ourselves here. Let's nobody try to lie and say that Freddy is worth that, because that is absurd. A Nightmare on Elm Street is my second favorite series after Halloween. And Halloween is, especially now, more popular. And I don't think Halloween should ever sell for that, let alone A Nightmare on Elm Street. Or The Exorcist, for that matter. $400 million for the rights, especially when the party that is going to reach that deal with you is going to get cut in on the profits. Why? Why would you do that unless you had no interest in actually making a movie? You just don't care. So you're just like, oh yeah, you want to do business here? I don't know, $500 million. Meet us on that and you can make a movie off of our property. I don't see many studios, if any, actually jumping at that. I think Universal is actually regretting their investment they made with The Exorcist. Although we're getting another movie there, I think they realize, man, that price tag was way too steep. Because it was. It absolutely was. So you cannot convince me that Freddy Krueger should be bringing in the same price tag, if not more than that. So that's the first hurdle here. The second hurdle here is, yes, the rights issues. Now, again, not as muddied as Friday the 13th, but still muddied nonetheless, because you do have 2 entities that own the rights internationally and domestically that also don't want to seem to work with each other. And I believe if Wes was still alive, this would have happened by now, but he's not, and I don't think his kids share at all the interest that Wes had in the horror genre. I just don't think they care as much. So here we are, where nobody really seems to be pushing the ball forward anywhere, which is insanely crazy because we are in a renaissance for horror right now. Even your most run-of-the-mill, generic Blumhouse movie that nobody cares about makes its budget back opening weekend. So I don't understand why Freddy Krueger is just sitting here on the sidelines. And then the last hurdle, and it is the biggest hurdle in my opinion, is, and maybe I'm contradicting myself because I said the biggest hurdle at the beginning, but still, in my opinion, I think this is really what the biggest hurdle is, and that's Robert Englund. It's the future of this series. A Nightmare on Elm Street 2010 came out, and it made over $100 million. Of the 3 remakes, it was the most successful when it came to Friday the 13th, Halloween, and Nightmare. However, it also happened to be the most hated of those 3 remakes. Unjustly so, in my opinion, but the facts don't care about that. It was the most hated by fans and critics alike. And I think a big reason why New Line and now the Craven Estate, and really just nobody, has been jumping at the opportunity for Freddy is because they realized Robert was getting older and they had to recast. So they recast with Jackie Earle Haley, and the backlash that movie got freaked them out about the possibility of ever doing another one without Robert. But Robert's still alive, and he does this dance often. He retires from playing Freddy. Then he says, well, you know, maybe I'd think about it. I don't know. Probably not. Then he retires again. It's a little bit of a back and forth. And even if Robert right now is saying he's retired and he would never do it again, if a movie got greenlit, you cannot convince me that Robert wouldn't at least be interested in hearing what's going on, that he wouldn't be trying to figure it out through the grapevine. I totally believe that he would. So I think the biggest hurdle is, do we really try to recast Robert Englund again, especially while he's alive? Like, could it work? Yes, it could work. Jackie was fine. Jackie was more than fine. I actually thought he was good in the role. The CGI was the problem, and some of the dialogue at times was the problem. Jackie was not the problem. If you came back with A Nightmare on Elm Street and you brought Jackie Earle Haley back, I don't think many people would be that skeptical of that because a lot of people agreed, yeah, he was fine. It wasn't really him. It was some of the subject matter he had and some of the digital altering that you did to the character. But Jackie, bring him back. That's fine. But even if you don't, there are plenty of great character actors and, you know, creature actors that I think really could do a good job with the role. But I do believe everybody involved is hesitant, if not just downright scared, about the prospects of doing a Nightmare movie without Robert Englund. So I think we're at an impasse largely because of that factor right there. Now, I can tell you last year that there was reporting, there were rumors, and it was confirmed by some people that they were definitely in talks, early talks, Blumhouse specifically, and trying to get the rights to A Nightmare on Elm Street and wanting to do a requel, like what they did with Halloween 2018. They wanted to bring Heather back, and they wanted to bring Robert back. And they wanted it to be a swan song, the final one, to potentially set up future movies, but this is the final one for Robert and the final one for Heather. And the horror fan in me that loves the original Nightmare film and Nightmare 3, I wouldn't hate it, but at the same time, it is so unoriginal at this point and played out, I don't want to see that. If I had my druthers, they restart this thing. They recast it. They put it back in Springwood. You don't have to be following Nancy Thompson. It could be a totally different cast of kids just being hunted down by this dream demon that was killed for murdering children. That's all you need. Just reset the whole thing. I feel like if you come back and you do this requel, you're going to probably make a lot of money, probably get good reviews, and these OG fans are going to be really happy and really excited to see more, only for you to pull the rug out and say, okay, that was it. Also, Robert's up there in age, and let's be honest, Heather's not a great actress. All of these factors just make me say, just don't do it. Like, just don't do it. Now, would I be there day one? Of course I'd be there day one, but just don't do it. So the future of the Nightmare on Elm Street series is honestly just in this really muddied water situation where they don't know what to do going forward. They don't know what production company, what distribution company is going to do it. The Craven Estate doesn't really want to do anything, but if they do, you better pay out the ass for it. It's just a lot of just really going nowhere. People just wringing their hands and people just sitting on their hands and nothing happens. But I can say that in talking to people that I know, that I have trusted for years, it sounds to me like when this does happen, and it will happen, Freddy Krueger is not dead forever. When this does happen, it will be a fresh start. We're not going to be following Nancy Thompson, played by Heather Langenkamp again. Robert Englund is done as Freddy Krueger. This is going to be a totally new relaunch of the series. And in my opinion, that's what you need to do if you want to bring some long-term viability for the franchise. I think that is the only way to go. So it is nice to at least hear that it seems like most parties involved, or that will be eventually involved, all agree that that is the route they're going to have to go. Now, I know there's a lot of you watching that are like, oh, I don't need another Nightmare on Elm Street movie. A Nightmare on Elm Street can rest. We don't need new movies. Robert can never be replaced. That's totally fine. But I want you to realize, if you are one of those people, that is not going to happen. It's going to come back. So, to you and to any other kind of person watching this video, wherever you may land on the spectrum of wanting or not wanting a Nightmare on Elm Street movie, accepting the inevitability that it's eventually going to happen again, I bring this question to you. What do you guys want to see happen with the future of A Nightmare on Elm Street? Please comment down below. Let me know. I want to discuss this with you guys. I can't wait to hear your thoughts. Doing these types of videos and discussing it with you guys afterwards is probably the most fun. I can tell you the least fun part is editing them. But after they're up and I can converse with you guys about it, it's quite a bit of fun. But I do want to finish this off by saying I can tell you guys, I promise you, from what I've heard, it is a lot closer than we think. No, I don't have like a date. No, God, no. If I did, I would just tell you, because I'd be like, oh yeah, screw it. Let's get this out there. I want to make waves. No, I don't know. But it just seems like, and it sounds like from what I'm hearing, it's coming. It's definitely coming. But that's where I'm going to leave this. The future of A Nightmare on Elm Street is up in the air, kind of, sort of. Maybe it's not in any air at all, and it's, got a cinder block tied around its ankle, and it's at the bottom of a lake. Guess we'll find out soon enough, won't we? But I want to hear what you guys think, so let me know, sound off, argue with me, agree with me, whatever you want to do. Just take it down there, and I'll be happy to join you. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. This is Nick at the Lost River Drive-In, and I am pulling out.